Detective Comics 1050, Mariko Tamaki with Ivan Reese. It is. I've got Dan Mora written down. That's my bad.
Yep. I mean, Dan Mora's in there.
He is in there, yeah. Well, this is the funny thing. Is I think we just assumed that the main story was going to be long for this, and it was going to be a big chapter.
Because we knew it was oversized. I think we were expecting the House of Gotham back up still, because we knew that was 12 parts.
So before we talk about any of the stories, I just want to give my experience here of like getting. So it's because I'm finished the main chapter. I was like, okay, that's about the same length, and we've got the backup that we've had. That's going to be about 8-10 pages, whatever. And I'm like, oh, clearly there's just another story at the back. And I got to it, and I was like, I mean, maybe I need to read this, and I read a couple of pages. It looks all right. And I got to the credits page, and I was like, wait, this is Mark Waid and Mora? Oh shit! It's a prologue to their Batman Superman book. Oh man,
to their world's finest.
Pleasant surprise. Is all I'm saying. It was a pleasant surprise.
Oh yeah, I'm glad I didn't tweet because I couldn't get my AirDrop working to send myself a screen capped. So I could post of a certain image, which would have spoiled things, I think, for Pete.
Is it Ivy related?
Maybe. So,
because the first page, because Batman doesn't show up till like the second or third page, and I was like, wait, this is a Poison Ivy and Metropolis with Superman. This is like written for Matt.
Yeah.
Jeez. But yeah, we'll get to that. So the main story. And Detective Comics, obviously, we're continuing on. This really dove into the Huntress stuff. Gave us some, even gave us a flashback to the No Man's Land era of Batman briefly. It's not really important that it takes part in that. It's they just picked what's a memorable period that we can set this in?
Well, and it shows the trauma that Helena suffered during No Man's Land, with Joker almost killing her. You know, he has her dead to rights. Also, now Harley's been a hero for so long, it's weird to see her with Joker.
Oh yeah.
Even though, you know,
she absolutely would have been during that time.
Yeah, we all know her history and stuff.
I mean, keep in mind, like in the comics, she would have been like new to the comics at that time. She wasn't around that much longer.
No, I know. I'm just saying it's a bit of a shock after, you know, the last 10, 12 years of her being an anti-hero and whatnot. Her standing side by side with the Joker is weird.
In terms of like the main continuity, like when did she actually start appearing in Batman comics? It wouldn't have been too long before that.
No, it was No Man's Land. That was the first time she was put into the proper comics.
Oh, there you go.
So it was 99. So yeah, so she was still brand new around that time.
Yeah, relative to, you know, being included in the main comics, That's neat. You know, and obviously No Man's Land gave us kind of the birth of, like, you know, Cass as a Batgirl figure and all that stuff. But anyway, so this, like, a lot of this comes from Nightwing's narration, and he talks about Huntress and how concerned he is, but he talks about how Huntress is different from the rest of the Bat family because she's actually more like Bruce than the rest of them, which is kind of why they clash so much. And it was a kind of an interesting point of analysis, I thought. And when it cuts to like the present day, and it's Nightwing talking to the others about what Kate saw in there, and like Huntress saying, "No, leave me alone, I'm fine." I love that Nightwing points out, wait, so you went in to rescue Huntress and she didn't get offended by that? That doesn't sound like Huntress to me. Something's not quite right. So obviously they haven't quite pieced together that you know, that she's been given something that's making her this way, but yeah, so we kind of pick up where we left off last time with Anna Volshin killing the guy, and characters in the room, so the mysterious Ocean, who we find out who that is by the end, but the mysterious Ocean reacting to this, like in silhouette, and saying, "Oh, there's like a bad stuff going on." That kind of sets up some of the you know, because at first up you're thinking, I think the tease here is that, oh, is this the start of everything breaking down? Is this the start of like everything going to shit? And instead you then have Dr. Ware like giving Huntress medication and saying everything's okay, and then he goes out into the hallway and it's like, okay, we need to get someone to clean up this blood. So it's not like when everything breaks down, that's the first time something happens. Like there's clearly incidents building up to it, and violence and whatever else.
On the image of Dr. Ocean's office, I did not realize that until I just looked at the silhouette. That it's a giveaway.
He's holding the mask.
Right, yeah, that's fantastic. Like good on Tamaki and Reese. here. That is great.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's it, man. I like Anna Volshin as a villain. I hope nothing happens. I want her around for long times. She's proper scary.
I'm not sure she's going to make it through this story, to be honest.
Yeah, I could see her dying.
Maybe.
At the end of this.
Yeah, me too. But like, I don't know. I like, and we've talked about this before, and all of these Bat rogues kind of becoming anti-heroes at this point. It's good to have some new blood in there with some proper bad guys. It's like Zaz. I always appreciate Zaz showing up because he's always, there's not very many redeeming qualities there. At least Anna Volshin here, it seems like her origin seems, whatever it was that caused her to become that. But yeah. Reese here really, really showing some horror elements.
Yeah, and we get a couple more flashbacks with Huntress to right before this story, which is like one giving an example, because I mean we talked about why she might want to go in here because of all these visions she's having, but we get a scene where she actually beats like one of these Huvile infected people basically to death, and scares the shit out of the person she was trying to save. And this is like a kind of a wake up, like scary call to her, where she never actually says that she's horrified, but you can see it in the art, and Nightwing says it in his narration.
Yeah,
she's not admitting that she's horrified by what she's just done, but she clearly is. So I mean, good on the art there. I like that she doesn't have to say it and doesn't like say anything in dialogue. That's really neat. And likewise, we get a scene where she's like, this is like a few pages later, but she's like saying, "No, I'll go in my civilian clothes. We need someone on the inside." Like,
I think that was part of the biggest surprise to me is I'd assumed she was undercover, but she's still going by Helena in there, right? So that was, just to caught me off guard.
I think it's like, I mean, she's still kind of undercover in the sense that she's going in with the intent of like helping
with
the team.
A purpose, but she's not in a false identity.
Yeah. Also, I love the cat needs expensive food and likes to watch TV. It's on a timer, so don't disturb the TV time. So no, but we have a Nightwing now in like the present part of the story, day 15. I really like this actually that it bounces around the morning of day 15 a little bit, where it cuts back to like Dr. Ware like trying to dispose of this dead body that Anna Volshin's killed. It's just this nice like sequence of events. But yeah, Dick's basically the falsified some IDs for him to get in as a maintenance guy, and he's sneaking around. He's hearing certain things. We hear a couple of the members of the gang talking about that the guy's missing. So what's going on there? And this leads to like them coming after Dr. Ware later. Dick runs into Mr. Freeze, has like an awkward interaction with him. But Dick finds some evidence of blood, so they suspect something has went down of some kind, and he's going to get Oracle to analyze it. But yeah, the end of the story is the reveal of who Dr. Ocean is, and it's funny. I think we saw the introduction to this story was like, hey, here's this villain who was murdering people like a few issues ago, and he's fine now. The guy that tried to murder the mayor, he's got this clean bill of he's got this clean bill of health, and he's docile, he's friendly, he's acting civil. And we said, they've got some experimental stuff they're working with, and they're doing all this,
which is what they're presenting to the public as well. Experimental treatment. Oh,
for sure, yeah. And clearly there is some drugs involved, because this is the stuff that the gang's taking to distribute. There is something as well, but we never just went to, what if Psycho Pirates making them all act out of character?
He's not someone you usually leap to.
Yeah,
no. Especially with Batman, like with him, it's always like crisis-y kind of stuff. Like, right? Popped up in Infinite Frontier.
I'm not the biggest fan of this issue overall. Like, it's not like a bad issue. I don't think it's terrible.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously the ending is very exciting. But overall, I think it's just a fine issue. I think maybe part of this is how they build it as like, it's the end of Act 1. It's part of this oversized issue. And I'm like, it was fine. It's just the next part of the story. It's not bad. but I think it was oversold, and maybe that's part on me. But they definitely kind of
I'll be honest, I barely was paying attention to like them selling this as the end of Act 1 or anything like that. It just kind of.
I mean, it's a nice Act 1 ending. I think I think
the reveal at the end is Act 1 worthy of like a.
Right.
That moment is, I agree, but I think the rest of the issue is like, I mean, it's fine.
Well, I like that it puts us in Huntress's mind, in that she felt like she's feeling whatever the effects are, because the whole stuff with Vile and her whole, her being like Bruce, it's almost like she's a stand-in for him at this point, and that because they're so alike, but she realizes that she needs to get help.
And Dick even,
Bruce is the type.
And Dick even questions, like, is Batman being missing even making this worse? Because like they're having to step up a little bit here. Right. What I will say is that what I do like about this issue is I think the end, last issue I really liked a lot as well, and that ended with getting to see Huntress for the first time and her acting out a character, and like sort of us like talking about why that is and the interesting elements of that in the overall story in this arc, and even indeed the run as a whole. I think this issue is a very natural follow up, because that's what we were talking about at the end of last issue, and then this issue comes in and says, okay, let's explore, let's go into Huntress and why she's made this choice to come in here. Let's clarify some of the motivations, and it felt like it was exploring exactly what the last issue left me wanting to explore. So I think as a progression in the story, it's a very smart direction.
Yeah, I like that it feels like it is taking its time. It knows it has 12 issues to do this. So, I had no problem with the pacing. I like it.
Yeah, I'm thinking of the pacing,
But I also agree with Connor, too, that it kind of does feel like, all right, this is still middle stuff, and but it's doing good character work, so it really doesn't matter, But yeah.
Like I say, it's not like a bad issue by any means. It just it definitely felt like, okay, it's another issue, right? Yeah. And then with a very exciting ending, with that there is that caveat to that.
Yeah, well, I like how it teases it, because obviously so it's the two thugs who are like, hey, where's our buddy went who was messing with that patient, and they threaten Dr. Ware, and Dr. Ware's barely giving a shit that he's getting a gun pointed at him. He just says, look, can you deal with this? And like the guy just changes his mood, and he's like, what was it he says? He just he walks out with this sort of grin in his face. It feels much better, and you're like, oh wait, there's someone with a power here that's doing this to him.
I really like, you can tell from the lettering, like it's got this red outline on the bubble and like a yellow, almost like a highlight effect.
Yeah,
is how I'd describe it. It's subtle.
I suppose it is that. I think that it is actually a slight yellow highlight, but the way I would describe it looking is it looks kind of like a sort of puke, dark yellow, brown color because as a result. And in reality, it probably is just black text with a slight yellow highlight, but it gives me a set of.
I'm just zooming in right now. It's like a yellow drop shadow on it.
Yeah, I see.
That's what it is.
But I think this was a very natural follow-up to last issue, and then it continued the threads that the last issue presented me with, and Dr. Ocean was the most teased last issue, so then this issue gave us the result of that. It set up the Huntress stuff, and then this issue explored the Huntress stuff. Obviously there's more to do in the overall story, but this is the issue that's there to like sort of like ground all of that Huntress stuff, so that when she's being used later, it's going to do this, does that. I imagine next issue, I would expect, it might not, because they might move away from Psycho Pirate now, but I could see them exploring the more of Psycho Pirate's involvement given this ending.
It definitely feels too that when, like, if he's not there and his influence, like, what is he doing to project his influence across Arkham Tower? Because usually he has to be in the room with people, right, for the mask's effects to work.
Yeah, he does. I wonder if there is something they've figured out how to, get the ability into some sort of drug.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, is maybe that's what they've done, is to figure. That said, though, if you go back to that early page where you see him in silhouette, right?
Yeah.
So it's basically Anna Volshin's killing the guy, and what is it he says? He says, shit, I've lost him, or something like that.
Yeah.
Just let me get the panel. It says, oh my god, no, I've lost them. That implies that he is in some level actively keeping control of them, and then he realized that he's lost control of her, at least if not more than her.
Right.
That's true.
So,
so they found a way to project the effects across multiple.
Is it as simple as him watching them on a camera? Because he's got a bunch of monitors with patients on them. Maybe he's just that counts.
Yeah.
That's line of sight, baby.
Yeah, but I thought it was a really fun reveal. for it, and everything makes sense. And then the fact that Ware's talking about like this is just a grift, and that he they have to just get until they get the money from Nakano.
Yeah, which is an interesting point. Like, okay, so what's this money really for then? If this isn't really the end goal,
right?
And as far as Psycho Pirate goes, like, what's his end goal? Is the reason why everything breaks down because he just pisses off at a certain point,
right?
Like, yeah, there are some interesting ideas there to play with. So, yeah. So I mean, I think it explored all the threads that we wanted explored after last issue, and it's raised these questions that it's left us discussing this time. So I think as far as serialized storytelling goes, I think it's doing a really good job of keeping it engaging.
Yeah.
So yeah. So we'll move on to the backup story. This is the Scarecrow with the kid who's scared of Batman, who chose to come with them as he otherwise hypnotized, for lack of a better word, the rest of the kids to come and help kill Bruce Wayne. So interesting little wrench in this story here is that when they're at the Wayne Manor, it's actually Robin, young Dick Grayson, who comes running out and starts like fighting all the kids, which I guess makes sense. Like, he can fight the kids. He is a kid after all.
But you know what? If anyone was gonna write Batman punching kids, it would be Rosenberg.
True.
I feel at this point.
That's fair. Yeah.
So
Batman's definitely punched kids before.
No, I know, but still, I do like when Robin shows up and how this kid is processing, right? Because
that's the part I like about it.
Yeah, he's the complete opposite of Batman, you know. And why is this kid working with Batman? Because to him, Batman's scary, and just all the stuff with the kids in the manor and Scarecrow and. Man,
it's almost like
House of Gotham just keeps getting better.
If the story of this is going to be this kid's eventually going to like sort of realize who the good guys and bad guys are, I'd feel like Robin is the pathway for him to kind of discover that. But I have no idea where this is. Like, I genuinely have no idea. Is this the story of the creation of a villain, or is this the story of someone who almost becomes a villain and sort of like becomes good by the? I have no idea.
Well, and he sees when Robin comes out of the bookcase because he's hiding, So that's got to be something. It's almost like he's seeing behind the curtain.
Depends how much this extreme dose of the fear toxin affects him, I suppose.
Yeah. Because this could be his origin story too. Is this extreme dose? But yeah,
that's the thing. You mentioned Batman punching a kid. Scarecrow does punch Robin.
Yep. I was eating. So yeah, we get that.
Great panel.
Yep. Just whack. Oh man, the art's so good here. Blanco is just nailing it.
I assume this stuff is kind of why Blanco was moved off the last handful of issues of Catwoman to get a pretty good lead on this, because this is roughly 10 pages, and then it's weekly. He'll want a decent lead time.
If it's 10 pages, that's 120 pages.
Oh, that image too that he does. So like the way that it breaks down when he doses Robin, and just you have all the smaller, the 6 smaller frames, like input with the fire going on, and then the bottom panel of Scarecrow and the kid walking away with Robin in that fear pose.
Yeah.
Like, whew.
No, that's good.
Yeah.
That's some grade A work.
Yeah, Robin gets dosed, the Wayne Manor's on fire, and Scarecrow's leaving with this kid, and he specifically says, like, you're a special boy, that's why I didn't pick you. That Robin, he's another unspecial one, but you're special. And it sort of builds up the suspense, like Batman's on his way, we cut to the Batmobile and you get the R of the engine going across. That's a really nice, that's one of those little things where I don't always necessarily think sound effects that are added in comics always add to it, but I think that simple one of the engine, because it's like cutting to like the sound of the car, is actually quite effective.
It's the way that it's like no they can hear it even though they can't see it
before they see it.
But yeah, so basically Scarecrow's like, look, in order for you to like have plausible deniability and not be like blamed for any of this, I'm going to have to give you an extreme dose of the fear toxin, and it'll take a long time to wear off, but it eventually will.
Probably.
Maybe. Yeah. And he also tells him that there's only one way out, and that's Arkham.
Yeah. So sure enough, that's what happens, and the story ends that Scarecrow's ran away, and Batman's holding this kid who is now just completely dosed in fear toxin, and all the other kids are presumably waking up now. Alfred sort of led them to safety, and that's your cliffhanger for the end of this. Enjoyable backup. I'm still into the story and where it's going. So credit to Rosenberg. Blanco's art is obviously very good, but credit to Rosenberg for writing a story that I think is fulfilling enough in 10-page chunks, because I feel like most backups aren't.
Right. And it's properly sinister, right? Like there's this undercurrent here that's a bit creepy, like, because we don't know who this kid is. We only know, Joker killed his parents. He's afraid of Batman, and he's just kind of going along with the villains. And it's almost as
a lot of that sinister vibe though is coming from Blanco's art.
Well, that too, but I mean, just the way that the story's told, right? The way that Scarecrow gets down, on his level to talk to him, and just it's just creepy. So, but yeah, it's really good right now.
Yeah, a minor quibble in the art at the end is I do think Batman's head has a bit of a weird shape to it in that last page of the story.
Yeah.
It's kind of angling in the way as it goes up, but I don't know if it quite matches the angle that we're looking at him at to make it look.
He's just turning his head a little bit, because you can see the neck seems to be turning as well.
It just looks a bit optimized. I mean, it's a minor nit, but it's not like a big thing. Obviously Blanco's art's very good by and large, because he's a very good artist. So then we do get a bonus story. So the extra pages of this is special issue, because I suppose it's not that weird for every 25 and 50 to be treated like a little bit special. So
right.
We get like a bonus story, which turns out to be a prologue to the World's Finest book coming from Mark Waid and Dan Mora, which was a very pleasant surprise. It was one of those things from, this art looks nice, but I didn't necessarily clock it was Mora on the front page. And I wonder if that's because I've not seen him do Metropolis before. Like, I'm so used to him doing like dark and gritty Gotham and stuff.
With the cyberpunk elements, you weren't ready for the bright...
If you know, I think it's pretty clear in like the facial shape. Yeah. Like if you look at like Lois's face, I
can absolutely see it. But like, obviously when I got to the title page, I was like, oh shit, it's this team. Excellent. Can I just say, like, I like that this is a story set in the early days. Like seeing Batman with the blue cape and the cowl. I get a lot of nostalgia for this sort of stuff. And I think Mark Waid, because he is such a writer who loves to harken back to the Silver Age and has all these sort of old school superhero values, I feel like he's the best type of writer to tackle something that's set in an earlier time period like this.
And he also understands the DC universe on a certain level, right? Because here we have Poison Ivy and Metallo teaming up, right? Those two are complete opposites. One's a complete creature of perverted science, and the other one is a eco-terrorist trying to preserve...
Hey, Matt, sometimes if you have some color coding, it matters more. They've both got green, and that's what matters.
No. But I like that they're teaming up here, and he puts these two... villains together, and I like the fact that Ivy is a villain here.
Yeah, it's the old days, so yeah, we can do that.
And but she gets to that part right where she's like, when they go to stop her, they hit her with the defoliant, her little vines, and she freaks out and stop murdering the green, so just little character bits like that. But man, how great's the art?
Oh, it's fantastic.
Not just that Ivy page.
Appeal for me. Like,
right?
The story here, it's fine.
That's fine.
Again, like, it's not anything special. At least I don't think so. It's perfectly fine. But the art is gorgeous.
And just the coloring here too, because when they start fighting Metallo, and he has his compartment open, and everything has a sickly green to it.
Yeah, he's got a syringe that has various red kryptonite fragments. Distilled into like a concoction, and he stabs Superman in the heart with
the colors again, right?
Yeah.
I didn't notice, but
I think it was. I have a vague recollection that it's the Once and Future team stuff.
Okay.
And sure enough, Robin, which do you know Robin this is? Is this?
No, it looks like Tim.
He's got the staff.
The
staff. The long trousers.
The long pants.
The staff was making me think Tim as well, which maybe gives you a better idea as well as exactly what sort of era it's set in.
Right.
But he stabs Metallo in his kryptonite heart. But the problem is that we're ending the story in this big cliffhanger where Superman's just had a dose of red kryptonite injected into his heart, and it teases some shadowy figures on a rooftop saying, what it says, yes, now the fun begins. So, you know.
You say shadowy figures, Pete, but I know that's Malachi Black. So, like,
I mean, honestly, the horns on the dude was making me think
Steppenwolf.
Either Steppenwolf, doesn't Magog? Yeah, I was going to say Magog.
That was my thirst as well.
Yeah. Which, knowing Wade's track record of creating that character to be the ultimate 90s, you know.
I'd forgotten Wade created that character. I'm almost, I'm 99.9% sure it's Magog now.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. He seems a little bit more mystical because the guy next to him seems more robotic. So I feel like that's those two coming together, kind of like Ivy and Metallo.
Well, if the running theme of this world's finest is that it's all going to be these pairs of villains because Batman and Superman are an odd pair, then that's kind of a fun theme to play with.
Is it one villain from each of them?
Oh, maybe. Yeah.
So if you got there for Superman, who's that there as the Bat villain?
Right. I'm looking at the dimensions, and I'm not quite sure who it could be.
It's a very normal-looking person in that silhouette.
Yeah,
right?
The only thing I would say about them is that I'd say it's not someone bulky. They look kind of sick, but other than that,
and they look potentially bold.
Mm-hmm.
Potentially, but I could also
see a helmet.
I could see it being a helmet. I could even see it being a woman with like a sort of suit on.
Yeah.
With a helmet.
Could be, yeah.
Hard to tell. Yeah. Obviously, the horns give the other one a bit more speculation.
Maybe it could just be an outright demon too, for all we know.
It could be new characters. I mean, like, for all we really know, but I've read comics enough to suspect something else. Yeah. So this was a nice tease. Obviously, I expect that issue 1 will read just fine. Like, because the only thing they really need to tell you in issue 1 is that you get stabbed with red kryptonite, and then go from there.
The important thing here is I got Dan Mora drawing Poison Ivy, so I'm just happy.
I'm shocked.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy about everything. I love Mark Waid as a writer. I love Dan Mora art.
Mm-hmm.
I have nothing to complain about.
Man, how is it that when Waid was there, he never got an arc on Superman Batman? That's when he would have been there. When it was Superman Batman.
He was too busy with 52 and other stuff, I guess.
Yeah. It just seems like it would be right up his alley.
He's getting in now, right? They're saying, hey, we're bringing the book back just for you to do what you want with it.
And basically just setting it then.
Yeah, it's kind of that time period that I think about. You're right.
This is the leftover pitch from when, back in those days. I never had the time to tell this story back then.
Yeah, because this is obviously pre-Damian, so this puts it in that kind of era, yeah.
This is my golden era of comics, so...
I guess for a lot of us, to be honest, our kind of age.
It's a leftover story from then. It's just old scripts he had lying around.
So we can rate stories. Obviously, the main one is the one that I'll note down in my records here. But Matt, rate the 3 stories then.
Okay, so I'm going to give that one, the first story, an 8. I'm going to give House of Gotham a 9, and I'm going to give the World's Finest preview an 8 as well. So it's going to come out to be an 8.5.
Very nice. Connor?
Oh, I'm going to feel really negative now. Main story is a 6.
Oh, you are a prick.
Hey, 6 is a perfectly fine score for me. Again, just because we haven't smelled it. For me, when I say 6 is it's all right. It's fine. It's I don't think it's good.
When I give something a 6, Connor, it's basically a 0.
Right, exactly. which is why I felt the need to explain that.
No, I know what your 6 is. I still think it's too low.
Well, it's not too low for my feelings.
Your feelings are stupid. Continue.
It's a 6. House of Gotham. I'll give it an 8. And then the World's Finest. I'll give it a 7.
All that deliberation going on there. Main story for me is probably an 8.5, to be honest. I'll probably go 8.5 as well on House of Gotham, and then World's Finest. I'll just go straight 8. Mainly just because of the way it functions as a prologue. It does kind of just have to jump into an action scene, so there's the story's not necessarily get a beginning, middle, and end, but
it just kind of ends as well, right?
But I like the voices for the characters. I love the art, and I love the general vibes that it's teasing. So, yeah, just go straight on that.